please, no! 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 No!
Hi guys and welcome back to the channel. Today I've got a new series for the channel, and that is the On Track series. Now, they have made the Panzer VII on track this week, and I thought, you know what, let's do a series where we basically play through all the tanks in that line and show a tanker gameplay for each of those tanks. So the way this is going to run is this is the Panzer IV-H at the start of the line at tier 5, because that's where I think the fun of the game starts, and that's tier 5, and where the tanks become definitely more meaningful. So we've got the Panzer IV-H now, then we'll have the VK3001P next, and then the Tiger P, the VK4502A, the 4502B, then the Panzer VII. Now I'm not going to do this for every single time they put a line out on track. What I'm probably going to do is, I thought this was the perfect time to start it with them releasing the on track of the Panzer VII. So what I'm going to do is, as I go along, I'm going to continue this series on and do hopefully every other single line in the game. So it'll be random lines, but then whenever they decide to put, say, the STB1 on track or whatever, you'll be able to search up the STB1 on track and you'll see all the tanks in that line played on this channel. And that's what I hope to do. And this is, the Panzer VII line is a line that there's some good tanks on it, there's some bad ones. There's a tank or two on here that people don't want to go down the line for, that, yeah, it's probably about right, to be fair. And I think most of the people will say, no, I just didn't want to grind the Tiger P, which, yeah, fair enough. The Tiger P's not the best, but we'll get onto that when we get there. So we've got the Panzer IV-H in this first game, and we are on Himmelsdorf, which is not quite the best map for it, but it's a derp-tastic tank. We're playing it with a derp gun, because that's just how good it is. And we're trying to shoot this easy... It's not an easy 8, it's an E2. We're trying to shoot this Jumbo Sherman, and we are having issues in the fact that there is destructible cover in the way, which, destructible cover and derp guns don't go well together. Now, one thing that the Panzer IV-H is not that good at, and that is side scraping, but it depends on the tank you're facing, right? That's a Sherman with a 76mm. So we can actually, if we angle it right, bounce our shots. And what we're doing is we're just consistently tracking this guy, and we're keeping him pinned, and he gets shut down, luckily for me. And yeah, he's gone, which is good. And we're already up to 1151 damage. We've got 309 assistance, and I'm thinking, you know what? Let's plough down here. But then it's like, they have gone down the banana road. I really should go try and help the cap. And there's a bear, there's an SU-100, and they are, and there's something else as well. Then they are pressuring our cap. There's only a TD defending it, so it's like, okay, I need to go back and defend. So we're going to go back down here and go after them. And what I'm actually expecting is to find their butts. And if you saw what I did to the KV-2 earlier on with heat, absolutely wrecked him. Took all of his health before he'd even realise what was going on. And if I'm expecting the butts here, I can just launch these heat shells into them. Now, this is a tier 7 heavy, right? This is 2 tiers higher than me. And it's something that could probably, if it got lucky with its rolls, one-shot me. So I'm trying to take his health down as much as humanly possible. And then I couldn't quite make out where he was with the outlines there. I really did actually struggle for that. And unfortunately we didn't actually hit him to kill him, but we do pop a nice shot into the T-34. But now that bear has turned around and is coming for us. So I'm playing it a bit risky by hanging about to try and shoot another shot into that T-34. And now I'm just waiting for him to appear, right? And I'm waiting, because I know I could probably one-shot him. And then it's like, oh, there's artillery. Okay then. But now the art is dead. It's like, okay, the T-34 we know is in the cap, because we saw the bear was coming our way, so it's like, let's go get rid of this T-34. I'm loading heat because I was kind of thinking that I might not pen him. But then I hear the destruction of a vehicle behind, and it's like, okay, that bear's there. Now, I have no idea why the bear looked the other way. That was kind of random. But we managed to track him. He was looking the other way. He didn't get his gun turned around, and we managed to finish him off. And it was fortunate we tracked him. It's what I aimed for when he came around the corner, because, well, you want to stop that. You don't want to have that charging around and having a free shot at you. Now, we loaded the heat round again for the T-34, because I was like, I can pen the T-34, and if I just pen him, that means I'm not going to end up in a situation where I splash it for 133 and leave it on 1 HP. which is what I just did with the HE. But hey, well, our team caps, and lucky enough for me, we win the game. And it was a very nice game for the Panzer 4H, especially since it was bottom tier. 3 kills, 2.4k damage, 309 assisted, 265 blocked, because, yeah, you always block things in this tank. No, you don't. It's paper armour, and you do have to expect that your engine will die a lot in that tank, as with a lot of German tanks. It tends to get shot in the front, and then the engine breaks, and game over. So, yeah, that was the Panzer 4H, and that was a nice game for it. That's the ace tanker for that tank. And we're going to be moving on to the next tank in the line, which is the VK 3001P. Now, this is a tank that I actually love. I love this tank. It is such a fun tank to play. It is well worth going up to. If you like the T-34-88, this is a better version of it. This is a fantastic tank. It's got similar DPM to the T-34-88. It's got the same gun, but buffed. It's got similar to better mobility. Its armour is that of a Tiger 1, but a tier lower. But obviously then you've got to think that Tiger 1 also doesn't have that great armour anyway. Now, my crew that I ran the same crew from Panzer 4H all the way up. Now, do I recommend that the crew be the same for the Panzer 4H as it would be for the Panzer 7? No. And I would, you definitely individualise the crews for the tanks. But I couldn't be bothered. I was too lazy to keep paying the 90 gold to change out the crew skills for each separate tank. So I just moved the crew up for 9,000 silver from one to the next, and that's the way we ran it. Now, the crew skills that I ran on this crew that went all the way up was Born Leader, Rapid Loading, Sixth Sense, Steady Aim, Situational Awareness, Track Mechanic, Snapshot, Run and Gun, and Firefighting. Now, that is probably my bog standard crew for a heavy tank, if I'm honest. That's what I pretty much run on most of my heavies. And that's generally because, you know, you make the gun handling as much as possible. You don't want to get set, well, if you get set on fire, which, especially for these German tanks, is something that happens a lot, then you want to put it out quicker, and then all the other standard perks as well. Now, I do love this tank, and that is because of this 88mm, but it does get two competitive guns. It gets this 88mm, and it gets the same gun that you get on the VK 3002M as well, which is the 75mm. But this gun, for the, you know, having a good rate of fire on this gun with 220 alpha at this tier is lovely, and I enjoy the punch of the gun. So in the VK 3001P, we are on Sunset Coast. We have done what I actually think is probably the best thing to do on Sunset Coast when you get these alternate spawns where you get one in the left hand corner, one in the top right corner, and that is just to rush straight down the J line, take that position right in the corner, and then you can fight anything that comes down the 10 line. Because going north, just for every time I've done it on this map, just seems to end in death from these spawns. But then it changes depending on the spawn that you get on this map, because there's like 4 billion different combinations of spawns, which is ridiculous. But when I pushed there, I realised as soon as we killed those guys, we need to get back to the cap. Look at all the enemy team that's here. And we're going to get quite kind of fortunate with these shells flying into this Hellcat 105. Luckily enough for me, he misses, and then he gets shut down. There's the KV-1 over here, which I actually thought was the T-150 for a second, so I loaded Prem, but hey, well, we'll stick with it. We're going to just put one shot into the side of him. We reload the standard again because I'm going to go chase him down. Because we did spot that there was a T-150 that was knocking about over it. And the T-150 is something that's going to be too awkward to pen with our 140 pen that you get on the standard rounds. But on, well, I think it's 144 or 145 on the two, but the 194 won't struggle with the T-150. But with the KV-1, 194 is enough. We shut him down. Then the T-150 is coming round, so we switch to the premium rounds. Wait for him to charge. He can hurt us a lot. Fortunately enough, he rushes his shot, misses. And then we turn around because there's tanks behind us. And then, oh, all of a sudden there's the Churchill 1. It's like, oh, okay, that's the Churchill 1. But fortunately enough, because he's using the Top Gun, we actually out-reload him. Now we're facing the VK 3001P, our other counterpart. And he, luckily for me, bounces on my angled armour. As you see, I am angling, because even though we don't have the best of armour, angling still works. And he actually shot my side and bounced, and we got fortunate that we could pen him twice. And that's the great DPM of this. We switched to Prem rounds because they have 244, but he's randomly got his ass to everyone. We pop the shot into him, kill him. Well, we don't kill him. He gets shut down. We should have probably killed him, but unfortunately we low rolled. And the game ends with a victory, and we ended up with 6 kills. Who knew? I didn't. We got 6 kills, 3.3k damage, top gun, high caliber, sniper medal, and it's just another good game for this. It's a fantastic tank. If anything, this line is well worth it for some of the tanks that are on this line. Like, this VK3001P is amazing. I absolutely love it. It's a fantastic tank. It's well worth playing through. And I've stated my love for it a lot of times. So we're on to the next replay, and the next replay is the Tiger P, the next one in the line, the Tier 7 for the Panzer VII line. You've got to go through the Tiger P. It's a worse Tiger. Now, what's the difference between the Tiger P and, say, a Tiger 1? Well, it gets less gun depression by 1 degree. I think it gets 7 instead of 8. Or it could even be 6. I know it gets less. It's got a giant cupola, which is pathetically armoured. It gets more frontal armour, because it gets 200mm of frontal armour instead of the 100 that the Tiger gets, which, let me tell you, is quite nice. Purely for the unauto-aimable feature of it. Now, the Tiger 1, you can literally just auto-aim and pen so many times. It's very, it's a very easy tank to pen. Whereas this can ricochet shots and bounce things off its upper plate and lower plate. But it does have a lot of areas, and I mean weak spots, a lot of weak spots that make the 200mm of frontal armour just nullify it, basically. Like cheeks on the sides, the lower plate is awful, there's another plate somewhere that makes it even worse. Yeah, the armour on the Tiger P is good for those that just auto-aim and fire at you, but for those that actually aim, it's very easy to take out. And generally, the worse DPM, the worse gun handling, the worse gun depression make this tank just so much worse than the Tiger 1. As well as that, it's also slower because of the extra armour. Also gets set on fire a little bit more, which is also very annoying. So, we've got Mountain Pass, and we got to this rock here, and I decided that I was not going to make it without getting shot up. So I decided, you know what, pop a shot, fight on this rock, and keep attacking the guys that are sat across from us. But I am not wanting to stay here now. There is still guys over there that can shoot me, but we are looking at the ice road, and the ice road has 1 defender, and it's spotted at least 3 tanks that are heading up it. So I'm thinking, I really want to get up that ice road, but when I poked out a minute ago, I got spotted, so I was like, I'm going to wait around a second. But now I'm pushing out, and I'm not getting spotted, so we're just looking, trying to pop a shot to see where someone might be. Don't hit anyone. We did hit 1 or 2 blind shots as well on that area when we were on the cross as well, which is nice. But yeah, the ice road is now one that we have to get back to defend. There's a light tank marauding onto our camp. There's another heavy tank. There's a Tiger 1. We need to go defend it, because there's literally just a light tank and the artillery. So we try and pop a shot into the rover, but unfortunately we missed. Then he gets shut down. And it's like, well, okay, let's get back into position and get some shots into this Tiger. Now, we've got this ridge line in front of us, which is very nice. That will protect us, keep us hull down. But obviously, the problem is, even though we're hull down, we're actually not using the best bit of our armour, which is really frustrating. As you see, the guy is just penning like a polar in our turret every time. It's very frustrating. But then we spot another Tiger P, and it's like, well, I know your weakness because I am you, so I will just farm that every single time. And we're not hanging around to fully aim our shots. We're literally just popping in, shooting, popping out, to try and make it as hard as possible for these guys to actually hit our weak spot and pen it. Because obviously, the more you stay stationary like these guys are, the more chance that they are going to hit and pen the place that they need to pen. So we're just going to keep popping shots into these guys, and it's literally just a case of working them over. Even though we've not got the best DPM, and they definitely have a better reload than us, we can just keep the gun working. And that is, one thing that can be nice about this Tiger P, even though it's not got as good a gun handling as Tiger 1, it's still alright. And obviously nowadays as well, especially with the cruise skills, you can make the tank a lot more bearable than it definitely used to be. Because it used to be a pain in the backside, and nowadays, yeah, not so much. So we get a nice shot into the Tiger, who backed into the shot to save the Tiger P. He went, "Get down, Mr. President!" and saved him. we shut the Tiger down. There's just the Tiger P left, aiming for that sweet spot, find the shot, and then something else gets spotted, and I don't quite work out quick enough that it's an S51, and I'm like, wait, that's an artillery piece. And yeah, he shut us down. So we were actually on for a really good game there, and there was a medium tank coming up behind us that we could have probably actually dealt with as well, but unfortunately we got shot down by shotgunned by the artillery, who was randomly in our base. Why he's attacking our base down the ice road, I don't know. But fair play, fair play. I can never criticise someone who's been aggressive in an artillery. When they sit in the back of the map, maybe, but when they're doing that, memes, fair play. So that was the end of the Tiger P, which is not... I'm not going to sugarcoat it. It's not a very fun grind. It's not the best tank in the universe. But we're on to the next tank, which is the VK4502A, which I really enjoy. I've really enjoyed this tank quite a lot. Now, it is worse than the Tiger 2 in a fair few ways, but it's better than the Tiger 2 in a fair few ways. Now, the armour on the turret and the hull is pretty much the same as a Tiger 2 in the way it acts. I'd say the lower plate is actually better on this tank than the Tiger 2, but the upper plate in general is going to get buttered by a lot of tanks that fire at least 240, 250 pen, and that's the sad fact of it. And obviously the turret as well is only like 180mm thick, which is poor, so basically things hit your flat cheeks and pen it. Another difference between this tank and the Tiger 2 though as well is, like I've said before, the gun. And the Tiger 2 gets its upgrade path as the 88mm you get on the Tiger 1, then the 105 that is the top gun on this tank, and then the top 105 on the Tiger 2, which has 225 pen, 0.31 accuracy. This one has 0.34 accuracy, 200 pen, and 244 pen on its premium rounds compared to the 265 I think it is on the Tiger 2. So this gun is just basically worse. I'm not sure if it has... I have a feeling it's slightly better DPM than the Tiger 2's 105, but it's not much, I don't think. But don't quote me on that because I haven't seen the exact DPMs on both tanks. But all that aside, like, I do really enjoy this tank. I enjoy the mobility a little bit better than the Tiger 2, as well as the fact that the armour is a little bit more troll. Like I say, you know, it's fairly similar in its layout, but it does tend to ricochet a little bit at times. A lot more than, say, the Tiger 2 would. And the mobility of this tank is one thing that I really do like. It really does feel way better than the Tiger 2 generally. You can get across and do stuff a lot better. I think the top speeds are very similar, but like in terms of engine power and power to weight and that, this tank is better. And it really helps you to get into positions like this that I've taken up here in the 4502A, where I pushed aggressively across that gap, and I'm now putting pressure on this 45 TP. Now obviously he's a tier 7, I'm a tier 8, so I'm going to crush him, right? And then this little tier 6 has come to try and help his little friend, and well, he's going to struggle to pen us. So I'm not really fearing the tier 6 Swede all that much. And when he's going to sit there and let me shoot him and kill him, I'm always happy. And I'm trying to ping for help as well, because I'm kind of worried that while I do have this now 244 and 445 TP in front of me, that the moment that they decide to rush me is going to be a bad moment. Because if the guy that was on the hill who was now running away and the Super Sherman that was back there decided to come and join in, I would be dead. But fortunately enough for me, they are not actually pushing me. They are sitting in the perfect place for me, and that is hull down for me so that I am fully covered from them, and I'm able to use the pretty good gun depression on this tank of 8 degrees as well. And that is one thing that this tank used to not have, and this tank used to have 6 degrees of gun depression, and I remember it back in the day. I hated this tank, and that was because it was quite quick, right? But it had worse armour than a Tiger 2. Yeah, that's right, worse armour than a Tiger 2. It had 6 degrees of gun depression. Oh boy. It wasn't a pleasant experience, because you would get penned by everything everywhere, and you just wouldn't, because I mean, obviously the tank is a tall tank, you just wouldn't be able to use your gun depression anywhere at all to be able to shoot people. And it was quite frustrating in that way. But nowadays it's you know, it's a pretty fun ride. So we shut down that VK, and we're now moving in on this Super Showman, and I want to get rid of him. Fortunately enough for me, my friend shuts him down, and then there's this Firefly in the base. Unfortunately, we mucked up the shot on him there, and we're still looking for the shot on him. Unfortunately enough, we slapped that in. Now, I'm pretty sure he's actually using the derp gun, man after my own heart. So when he actually shot me then and I was hull down, I took damage purely because he managed to hit me. So he did about 100 and something damage to me with the derp gun, which is obviously, the Firefly gets the 17-pounder gun, which is a very good gun, but it's not a derp gun, and derp is love, derp is life. So I'm very happy with that bloke for doing that. So anyway, besides the point, we are now pushing a position that is kind of dangerous for us to take on, and that is the hills on the 2 line. Because if you see there, look, there's these guys over here that will have good shots at us. And unfortunately, we ricochet on the stockades. I think lower plate probably hit his upper plate. I mean, even if we hit the lower plate, we're probably going to struggle with the standard rounds on this tank. But actually, we only have APCR left, so our 244 pen is going to make good work of that stockade's armour. Especially if he just sits there like he was. Now, we're pushing up to this position here to get below the ridgeline, so number 1, they can't shoot me, but number 2, if they decide that they want to push over, sit on top of the ridgeline, try and get shots at me, stuff like that, they're going to be spotted. I've got 3 heavy tanks sat behind me, and right now I am the forward base. I am the one that is spotting for these guys. So I want to try and keep anything that was on these hills lit. My other issue is this defender. Now, I can't quite get the gun elevation. Fortunately enough for me, he donks his shot. He does ram me, which, you know, I think worked out just as well for me as it did for him, because it puts him on lower health. I'm also not a one-shot, luckily enough, from his ram. Now, I wanted to get closer to him to try and, like, make it so that he might bounce, but at the same time, if I went closer to him, those guys up there would be able to shoot me. So I back up into a position, I chance it a little bit to see if I can get a shot at the ISU. I can, I do shoot him, I do chance it though, because like I say, he could have quite easily shut me down. Now we'll look for a shot on the SU-130 PM, luckily flies straight in. I say luckily, it was pretty well aimed. Flew straight in, and I'm debating whether to fire APCR at this guy again, because that's all I have left, or the HE, because obviously I can pen the SU-130 PM with the HE and I can do some significant damage to the guy. But I am constantly detected every time I poke up, so it's a bit risky to keep sitting there. But now we know where the ISU is, it's time to move up. I do have HE loaded, and when I'm crossing this field I'm thinking, God, I'm dead. It's game over for me. But I think fortunately enough for me, I do actually just get below a ridgeline, which is good. I'm sort of sitting waiting for him to poke up a little bit more so I can slam this HE round straight through. But unfortunately he's determined to run away now, and we're just going to chase after him. I'm praying that I can get up to him, get a nice HE round through him, and possibly push 6k damage, which would be very nice in a tier 8 tank. But he's determined to run towards RTD and heavy tank, and unfortunately for me, I don't get any more damage. But we finished that game with a very, very nice game for a tier 8 tank for the VK452, and it shows the strength of the tank in the fact that it's got good gun depression, good mobility, it can get around. The gun handling is not too bad, and obviously nowadays especially it's very, very good. So we finished that with an ace tanker, Confederate, high caliber, steel wall, obviously like 5.6k damage, and a very nice game for the VK. I'd say it's a tank that I really, really enjoy. It's combination of mobility, pretty good gun handling, sort of trollish armour. It's not reliable, but it's kind of trollish. It makes it a very fun tank. Now the next tank in the line is the VK4502B. And for me, back in the day especially, this was just a worse D75. It was a worse D75 because it didn't have the gun depression, didn't have the mobility of the D75. It had way better frontal armour, but quite frankly, what it lost for that frontal armour, I never enjoyed compared to the 75 because it lost the DPM, the gun handling, the mobility, still had the same turret. It was just like, 4502B. And it was the gun handling that killed me the most because obviously the reload on this tank is very slow. And when you missed shots in this tank, it was painful. And then when you had, like, it was mainly the high tier tanks, the tanks that were firing 300 plus pen AP and APCR and stuff like that, premium rounds, the frontal armour on this tank just became a disappointment to me, and I'd rather have had the E75 with its fantastic upper plate. Obviously the lower plate's not that, it's good, but it's not that good, not compared to this tank. I'd rather have the mobility, the good upper plate and the same turret, and got around using the better gun depression on the E75 with the better gun handling and better DPM than this tank. But nowadays, actually, I've enjoyed it a lot, to be honest. The good ability to side scrape, I say good ability, it's an amazing ability to side scrape, it's fantastic. Its frontal armour is amazing, I will give it that. The lower plate isn't as good, and it isn't anywhere near as good as it used to be, but it's still absolutely solid. As we bounce off the lower plate of the other VKB there. And you can do a good amount with this tank. Like I say, the gun depression can be a little bit disappointing. I'm always a little bit sad that it doesn't get the gun depression over the side. So, like, similar gun depression over the side of the tank like the E75 gets over its front, because it's the same turret, it's the same gun. Surely the gun breach depresses enough, but so it's the balancing. But one of the main issues with the gun handling being worse than E75 has been nullified by 6.0 because of the accuracy perks and stuff you can give it. It just makes it more reliable for me generally to use. So we've taken up a good position here on Pilsen, and we've got the heavy. We've basically got everything to our front. We had the 430U on our left, which was a danger, but he's gone, so that's not as much of a worry for us now. We get a nice shot through the VK4502B, and as long as the heavy tanks are staying in front of us, I'm quite happy. But we don't want to sit here for too long, and sitting here for too long is what could cause stagnation and cause issues down the line. So I'm seeing the VKB in front of me, I want to get him, and I also want to get this light tank that's progressed into the centre, because I'm fairly confident that whatever is on my left isn't going to come and get me, because it might be a little bit too preoccupied. But once I do fire at the T100, I am turning my armour to the left so that I am easily able to get myself covered. So I get an absolutely fantastic shot through that stanchion, straight through into the T100, who's in midair. We'll take that kill. I was doubting whether that would even hit, because there's so many stanchions in Pilsen that randomly take the shots. They're modelled so that they're just solid objects, you can't shoot through them. It's kind of frustrating. Now, unfortunately, I shot into that Valor there, only did track damage, it didn't pen, and that's going to cause us a little bit of awkward pain in a bit. But right now, why I've done this is because this Valor is locking down my guys on the left, and I wanted to distract him, make him turn around, and get these guys to turn around and help me, because, you know, I want to relieve the pressure. But now this Valor is pushing me. Luckily he misses. I've got the VKB on my right. Now I make a mistake when I'm going to shoot. What I should have done is kept my eye on the Valor and realised he is focusing me. Because if I'd done that, I would have been able to kill this guy, because he has a way better DPM than me. And also the fact that the VKB turned and shot me too. Now I shoot the Valor and he shuts me down. Now, if I'd had a little bit of help there, because the other guys didn't push around and let the VKB shoot me and the Valor, the VKB was a one-shot for the Gorilla and the other guy, so he would have died. Unfortunately, I didn't get the help, and I got shut down. But anyway, it was still a very nice game for the VKB. We pulled off Ace Tanker, we got 5k damage, 2 kills, 1700 base, Sniper Medal, Ace Tanker. Like I say, it's a very nice game for the VKB. It showed the what you can do with the VKB when you like showing the strength of the armour. When everyone sits in front of you, it was very nice, and it can be quite a fun tank. I definitely appreciate it a lot more nowadays than I did back when I first ground through it, like 3 years ago probably now. So we're on to the pinnacle of the line, the tank that you want to be aiming for, or you should be aiming for when you're grinding these lines. You should be going, you know what, I want the Panzer 7, so I'm going to grind up this line. Well, here it is. What do I think of the tank before we are ploughing through this game? I think the tank could be better, to be perfectly honest. It could be better. This game that you are going to see is, well, this game is magic. This is the perfect, and I mean perfect, scenario for the Panzer 7. So don't go believing it's an absolute god, but it is capable, and that, the one thing again that goes with it that I hated about this tank was its accuracy and stuff like that, its gun handling. 6.0 nullifies that, and it's definitely a lot nicer to play now. But I do prefer the VK7201K. To me, that feels like it's more how this tank is designed to play. You know, just being able to use the super heavy armour, which is good, but it's not great. But use that super heavy armour and just slap people with the big honking gun. The 560 Alpha on this gun, with the sort of slightly, I'd say, mediocre reload, generally means that it's just a little bit disappointing, and the VK7201K is a lot better for me and a lot more enjoyable. But like I say, this tank is capable, and you are going to see that with this replay. Now, we risked losing more health to get into the position we're in now, right? Because this position we're in, on this variant of spawns on Arctic region, is a valuable position. It is the position you need to be taking, you want to be taking when you come to this flank. Because you can shoot anyone that does what that 907's just done, and you can really put the hurt in to guys that sit on that ridge line there. Because I am perfectly hull down in this position, and there is a lesser known position that you can shoot the Panzer VII when it's hull down, and that is, I think it's to the right of the, if you're looking at it, it's the top left of the gun, and that can easily be penned. But when this tank is hull down, it's still a solid monster, and honestly, I felt really powerful in this position, and I have absolutely no idea what that T-54 was doing, but he decided he wanted to ram me, and he's gone. Now there's this mouse in front of us. We ricochet our AP round off the side of his turret, so we instantly switch to premium because I'm just not messing around with a mouse. I'm in a bad place, well, not a bad place, I'm in a good position in a bad situation. That's the better way of putting it. And that is, look at the numbers, look at where everyone is, the progression of their team compared to my guys. They're pinning my guys behind the hill, and that means I'm not getting to get that much support. While that mouse did get farmed, these guys here, if they decided to push me, could hurt me. The 907, the T-57 Heavy up there, could hurt me. T-54E1 as well, who managed to get up there. So, yeah, we want to try and keep the gun firing every single time it reloads. We don't want to be sitting still. We want to be knowing where we're putting the next shot of damage. So I'm going to pop up. I really want to get rid of the T-57 Heavy. Now, unfortunately, that shot misses on the T-54E1. And we are just waiting on the reload. And my mind is on those guys on my right, because once the guys on the right are gone, I can deal with the guys on the left. So I take a hit from either the Conqueror or the Tortoise on my left to get rid of the T-57 Heavy. So now he's gone. He's a danger gone on that side. And we are going to push over and try and get a shot into this 907. Because they've pushed up that ridgeline right there, that means I can be more aggressive and progressive with my position. So I've pushed up here now to get some love and attention into this Tortoise. So we slap a shot into his cupola, or repair it though, because obviously that Tortoise can permatrack me. And we're going to go turn our attention to these guys over here again, because again my guys are pushing into them. This heavy tank is now alone against the guy in front of him and the 907. I really need to help him out and get rid of that guy, because if my heavy tank on that hill dies, I'm done. Or I say I'm done, I'm in a more awkward position, because then they're going to start turning their attention to me again, which is not what we want. So we shut down the 907, and the T-54E1 is the one that's now being attacked by our heavy tank. So now that I'm pretty confident that E1 is going to go down, I'm turning my attention to the Tortoise and the Conqueror. And it's at this point I'm starting to think, okay, we're on 7k already, and there's a full health Conqueror in front of me, and a Tortoise that I'm pretty confident is not going to do much to me. And actually I think it was the Conqueror that shot me earlier on, because that Tortoise looks like he's got the 20-pounder. So again, it makes me even more confident when taking on this guy. And we finish him off, and now it's down to the full health Conqueror. And like I say, he's on full health. I'm on 8k damage. I'm looking at this going, this is a potential 10k-er. I'm quite happy with this. We're just going to farm this guy now then. So we get a nice shot into the Conqueror. He's staying hull down, but he's staying in the perfect place for me to farm. So he, and as well as this, he's also just not looking at me, which is great. He's finally turned his attention to me. He basically goes for my bait there, because I turned my hull slightly, so I angled it up again, so that he might think, oh, I'll try and track him. And he did track me, and he didn't pen me. Now, unfortunately, he also gets shut down by my heavy tank that was on the hill, so no 10k for me there on that Conqueror. But there's still 2 artillery, and there's always the potential. So I'm like, okay, I need to find these artillery. I want to get that 10k. There's Artie. Aim it, aim it, aim it. Tracks only. Oh, okay. Right, okay, well, we're going to make sure we get this artillery. He hotshots us. Just as we fire, he takes a hit. We shut him down, but we only get 76 damage. The dream of 10k is slowly fading here. We know where the 261 is, so we want to go get this 261, because again, he's got 500 health, right? 510 health. I've got 560 alpha. If I one-shot that guy, which with the alpha, with the DPM, not the DPM, the changes to the damage RNG, can be quite unlikely, but he's there. Oh, artillery shuts him down. And unfortunately, we don't get 10k. Oh, we were on for it as well. It was in the palm of our hands. We got unlucky with the first shot on the other arty. We just crested the ridgeline to get the 261. We couldn't quite get it. But still, a fantastic game for the Panzer VII. We get an ace tanker, high caliber, steel wall, 9.6k damage, nearly 9.7k damage, 5 kills, 1800 base, and a great game for the Panzer VII. Like I said, the Panzer VII isn't capable of this type of game all the time. It's a pretty solid heavy, but it's not as good as the 721K, and I do feel like it's a little bit disappointing in terms of being a heavy tank, or being a super heavy tank, I should say. But for the most part, that was the Panzer VII line. I hope you enjoyed the new series. I hope to make more soon. As always, everybody, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you next time.